Hello everyone, today we're going to look at parallelograms, and I know it's a really small space to write, but right underneath parallelogram you are going to write a quadrilateral with both pairs of opposite sides parallel. We're actually going to start off with the very front of the foldable. So where it's folded, you are supposed to write, if a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, then its opposite sides are congruent. This part right here you do not have. That is up to you to write. So opposite sides are congruent. What that means is that if we take a look at our examples, these two sides here are opposites. Therefore, they are going to be congruent. So this side will be equal to this side. On the opposite hand, these two are congruent. Therefore, they're opposite. Therefore, they're going to be congruent. Same thing over here. These two are opposites. These two are congruent. And so when things are congruent, you set them equal to each other. For example, in this case, we are going to say 3x equal to its opposite side, which is 18. And we are going to say y minus 5 equal to 22. Both of these are opposite sides, therefore congruent. Then if we are solving for these variables, all we have to do here is divide by 3. Divide by 3. These get canceled. X is equal to 6. For y, I'm going to add 5 to both sides. These get canceled. 22 plus 5, y is equal to 27. I want you guys to do B on your own. I will be checking it when I come back. So do B on your own. Once you're done with B, let's move on to the upper right hand side of the foldable. On the right hand side, you are going to write, if a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, then its opposite angles are congruent. Opposite angles are congruent. Which means, if we're looking at our example here, these two angles are going to equal the same thing. Of course, these two are going to be equal as well. So again, opposite angles are going to be congruent. Same thing here. This angle is opposite from this one. This angle opposite from this one. So what we're going to do here, we're going to look at B. And if they're congruent, I'm going to set them equal to each other. So 7x minus 10 will equal 6x minus 1. And when we have x on both sides of the equation, I'm going to start off by moving my smallest variable. So in this case, I'm going to subtract 6x from both sides. This gets canceled. 7 minus 6, that's going to give me 1x. I don't need to write the 1. So I'm going to say x minus 10 equal to a negative 1. From here, I want x isolated, so I'm going to add 10 because I'm subtracting 10. So I got to do the opposite. These cancel. And I have x equal to a positive 9. Nice and easy. I want you guys to try example 2A on your own. I will be checking it when I come back. Once you have done example 2, we are going to go back to the front of our foldable. At the bottom left corner, it's going to say if a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, then its consecutive angles are supplementary. Remember, consecutive angles are next to each other. Supplementary means that they add up to 180. And consecutive angles are going to form a straight line. For example, on these two, here's my straight line, which means if I add this angle plus this angle, they're going to equal 180 degrees. In this case, I have 120 equal to 180 degrees both ways. So for example, here 120 forms a line with this angle. So they're going to equal 180. But also 120 and 8y plus 4, they're also, let me do this like this. Those are also going to equal 180. So they're consecutive. If they're next to each other, that's one way we can solve them. So for example, here in A, I'm going to say 9x plus 135 is equal to 180. Super important here. Don't forget that these two are consecutive angles. A lot of people, because we've been doing congruent, they want to say 9x is equal to 135, but that's not what's happening here. We are going to do 9x plus 135. They are supplementary. First thing I'm going to do is subtract 135 from both sides. Try to make this smaller because B is going to take up quite a bit of space. These cancel, and we have 9x equal to 180 minus 135 is going to be 45. Last step is going to be divide by 9 on both sides. This gets canceled, and x is equal to 5. I want you guys to try B on your own. I will set up one of them for you. I'm going to set up x, so 5x plus 20. Not only that, but it's consecutive angle, so plus 120 is equal to 180. A tip on how to solve these: if I were you, I would combine my like terms first. So instead of moving 120 and 20 on their own, I would simply start over and say 5x, 120 plus 20, is 140, and set that equal to 180. Again, you can't do them one by one. It just takes an extra step. So solve for x, also solve for y, and then when you are done, move on to example 4. For example 4, that is on the bottom right corner, the front of your foldable, you're going to say if a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, the diagonals bisect each other. Bisect does mean that they get cut in half. Sad face. So we're looking at our examples. These are diagonals. These are diagonals. So this means that this blue diagonal is cutting this pink one in exactly half. So if it's cutting exactly half, that means we have two congruent pieces. On the other hand, the pink diagonal is cutting the blue in half. So that means we have two equal pieces right here as well. Remember, congruent sides get set up equal to each other. Same thing here. Pink is cutting blue in half, so these are congruent. Blue is cutting pink in half, so these are equal. I'm going to set up x for you here in B. So I'm going to say 4x plus 4 is equal to 5x minus 8. Again, for this one, I am moving my smaller variable first. I have a 5, I have a 4. That means 4 has to go to the other side. To do that, I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. That way this can cancel. Now the 4 drops down. That's equal to 5 minus 4. That leaves me 1x. I don't need to write the 1, so I'm just going to have an x right there. Then minus 8. Then from here, I need to get rid of this 8. If I have 8 subtracted, I'm going to add 8. I'm going to cancel. 8 plus 4 is going to be 12. I want you guys to solve for y, and then also solve for x and y in example 4a. I will be checking them when I come back. But once you have finished solving those, let's look at the sheet titled Properties of Parallelograms. I'm going to fill in the blanks for you. So it says, if a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, then the sides and angles are congruent. That means for these two, they're going to be set equal to each other. Their consecutive angles are supplementary. For this one, you're going to add them up and set them equal to 180 degrees. And their diagonals bisect each other. This means that they are cut in half. Cut in half. Therefore, the halves, are set equal to each other. I want you guys to use these rules in order to solve the rest of this paper. I will be checking it when I get back.